Good morning live. Thank you very much for choosing to stay with us now. It aims to provide a forum for developing and inspiring the creative community by encouraging creative collaborations across disciplines. That's the Arts and Culture Trust Conference, which gets underway at the University of Johannesburg's Kingsway Campus on the 16th and the 17th of March. To tell me more, I'm joined in studio by a conference organizer, and let me get the details, ACT Conference Manager Anastasia Pather, and Anthea Polis, who's the researcher of youth culture. She's a youth culture specialist. Ladies, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Anastasia, let's start with you. I think let's talk about a conference that talks about creative collaboration. We've been part of, or we've seen these debates happen. How is this conference different?
Well, we aim to be an outcomes-based conference. And in doing so, we want to actually have an integrated, interactive program. So we have split the program into presentations, into workshops, and into brainstorming sessions that are aimed at coming up with an interdisciplinary outcome between a group formed during the conference. So you're going to be working on an idea or a solution, and then you're going to be able to have access to a live toolkit, which will be experts from other industries that can help you fill in your gaps and identify where your gaps are. So hopefully you can take this into a project that goes beyond the conference dates.
And how important, and I love the fact that you're saying it's an outcome-based and that there will be something tangible at the end of this conference. We don't often hear those words going into a conference. How important is that?
I mean, I think the role of someone like myself in this committee is to kind of make sure that there's the academic side that lives, and you can see how Anastasia describes it, that's there. And what we kind of really need to do is make sure that people are prepared for what happens after the academics. Really, when you go into industries and when you have to really learn how to do something, this is what prepares you for that, I think. So in terms of outcome-based, it's essential. You know, otherwise we sort of end up with a whole lot of...
This is kind of a talk shop, and there's nothing real tangible at the end of it to say, this is what we discussed, this is what we're going to do now, where's the actions?
Exactly, and I think it's a lot easier to forget something when you sit passively and you listen to it versus when you're interacting with it and with other people. You know, what you remember and what you take out of that is always going to be different than what you read in a book or what you listen to somebody say to you.
Also, we're lucky enough to have a small creative community that has the platform to be very large. Okay. So if you start to get to know your neighbors, then I think you start to get really interesting projects happening, and you'll get fresh voices coming out of it because you'll see people and be able to know, this is the person that I go to for this type of project.
I can only imagine that this conversation or this conference is going to be very robust. We're not talking airy-fairy ideas. We're talking about real things that are happening on the ground and how we can move the process forward. With that being said, talk to me about the theme, because it's #creative intersections.
So we were looking at interdisciplinarity as the crux of the conference, which is such a big word, it's such a mouthful. And actually what that word breaks down to is intersections where disciplines meet. And it's that sort of gray area where that has largely gone undefined at the moment. But it's definitely happening, and it's happening at a street level, and it's happening at an academic level. So we're looking at, you know, the interesting nitty-gritty of when art meets science and when music meets the health industry, you know, what that looks like.
I don't know if this is a silly question, but this seems to me as a layman from outside the industry, it's something that should have happened a long time ago. Why haven't we approached it like this?
I think a lot of other events that happen focus on people that are already in the industry. So they go, okay, you're in the industry, you've been working for 10 years, let's all just talk about that. But I think the difference here is really focusing as much as they can on younger people that are not there yet, and try to stop the mistakes that have happened to some of us who maybe have been in the industry a little longer. We want to stop those mistakes a little earlier on, and I think, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to sort of figure out that there's a problem there, and I think we're finally at that point of knowing that there was time for a little bit of change.
ACT CEO Peter Jacobs talks about resources. how important is resources? I mean, we often talk about it. I've hosted many of these interviews, and people talk about resources, but nobody actually defines what the resource actually is, depending on which space you're coming from.
Because I think sometimes creatives have problems working out what it is they actually need. So I think, it's easy to say we're ideas people, so we know how to make the idea. It's actually identifying the resources that you need to sustain the idea. So our conference website has a platform where we have conference papers and interdisciplinary projects on offer that's accessible to anyone. Then we have pre-conference lectures that are also for free that you can join, and where you can actually integrate yourself within the conversation. So you start to pick up resources that are tangible that you can then say, here's something that I need to focus on, and this is the person I can go to find out how to fill that gap.
Are we also, and I don't know if this is part of the conference, but are we kind of looking at what's currently happening on the ground, Anthea, the groundswell, with young students finally voicing their approval or disapproval of certain institutions?
I think the goal this year, and I know it's a lot of what we've been speaking about, is to make sure that not just the people that are attending, but people that are sitting on the panels, that are speakers, that are involved in the conference, are coming from that level as well. Maybe not students necessarily, but right out of college or, just starting to work, to get those voices present. Because that's the other thing, and it's something we see a lot, is it's a lot of older voices who have been doing the same thing for many years, and a lot of, in a traditional sense. We really need that younger voice coming through, and I think the more practical voice as well.
Anastasia, details quickly. You're sitting at home, you've got to be part of this.
Well, it's quite simple. You can go to our conference website. Tickets are available. They're 1,000 Rand, 1,200 Rand for the 2 days with everything included.
Okay, simple as that. Or just Google more details. Anastasia Pather, who's the ACT conference manager, and Anthea Paulus, who's a researcher and youth culture specialist. Now, our colleague Peter Doro is in France.